It's the last working day of the week. My name is Solis Rose Corte. Welcome to News 360.
And my name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the bulletin tonight. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly gives 48-hour ultimatum to persons engaged in any form of activity at unauthorized places at Agbogboshi in Accra to vacate or be evicted.
And also, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Alima Mahama, warns regional ministers and chief directors not to use unavailability of funds as an excuse to underperform.
Also, Ghana Free Zones Authority defends 10-year tax holiday enjoyed by companies.
Also in the bulletin, the Bank of Ghana says it has granted operational license to 319 microfinance institutions across the country.
And on international front, Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga pledged to begin a process of reconciliation. The details of these stories and more, including sports and entertainment, tonight here on News 360.
All right, let's start off from the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, which has given a 48-hour ultimatum to persons engaged in any form of activity at unauthorized places at Old Fadama, popularly referred to as Agbogboshi, to vacate or be evicted. Now, the Accra Metropolitan Chief Executive Mohammed Ajay-Soa gave the warning at the inauguration of the Community Watch Committee in the area. A report by Peter Kwao Adato.
Old Fadama, otherwise known as Agbogboshi, is one of the most densely populated communities in the capital. Traders and others engaged in varying activities have taken over the streets, having exhausted every available space, leading to unimaginable congestion and insanitary conditions. Most traders on the street, like Selina Fiebo, have shops and sheds in the market but have abandoned them.
We have shops in the market, but buyers do not come to us, hence our relocation to the roadside. Again, the shops are limited in space, making our activities uncomfortable.
Gutters here are choked all year round as the traders have turned them into dumping sites, a situation the Metropolitan Assembly says it can no longer tolerate.
Because by Monday when I'm coming with full force. I'll clamp the vehicles that have parked on the way, and the onion that you have displayed on the ground, we're going to take them away.
Starting from the Abosokai Central Mosque through the Onion Market to Galawe near Ayalolo, no occupant of the street and pavement will be spared.
Followed by my good friends who are the scrap dealers. They love displaying MPP and NDC flags. That's very good. But when I come, I'll be coming in the name of Ghana. I'm not going to consider any political party that wants to
Mohammed Ajay-Soa also has plans on sanitation in the area.
And in front of you, if I see the debris in the gutter, you are the one who did it, and will issue summons to you.
But why has the Assembly adopted this radical approach?
When the president said that he wants Accra to be clean, and people take pictures of filthy Accra, he always come to Old Fadama to publish it in the Daily Graphic, Ghanaian Times, and some other newspapers. So we also want Old Fadama to be clean, as much as we want to ensure safety.
This will be the next major decongestion exercise by the Assembly this year after it cleared the Central Business District, Kwame Nkrumah Circle and environs in February. There are currently about 30,000 people living in the slums.
Well, let's just stay in the Agbogbloshie market because it is known to be a food hub where a variety of food items are brought in from the hinterlands and other neighboring countries. TV3's Evelyn Tengma reports Agbogbloshie market lacks any form of storage facility for perishable food items. Most perishable food items are left to rot, eventually going bad before being thrown away.
5 CD. Over me, come.
Augustine Bemie is well known and popular for his tasty fufu and light soup he serves each day at Agbogbloshie market. Don't be surprised, Augustine and many others cook every day just because traders spend almost all their day here at the market and have no time and place to cook. So they rely on people like Augustine and many others for their square meals.
Our Jamestown.
Now they are Agbogbloshie.
I bring the food from Jamestown. I do this to support my wife who sells fufu at Jamestown.
Apart from the already prepared meals, Agbogbloshie, an old neighborhood in central Accra, is well noted as a food hub. Mostly foodstuffs from the hinterlands and from the countryside are dislodged here.
You can call it the food hub and you will not be wrong. Every kind of foodstuff you want, you can get it here at Agbogbloshie. From yam to tomatoes, onions, you just name them. And people from far and near, from all walks of life, they come here to buy foodstuff.
Truckloads of yam have just arrived, but the drivers have issues.
The road wasn't that bad, but now it is in a deplorable state. We transport the yam from Pandai, but our main problem on the road is with the police. When we delay on the road, the yam gets rotten because of the heat.
Traders also have concerns. The road is bad. As a result, some drivers spend about 3 days on the road, affecting quality of the yam. Despite this, some buyers say foodstuffs at Agbogbloshie market are cheaper and more affordable.
I don't know if you can sort about Agbogbloshie better buy.
I say Agbogbloshie had a market Kasiano, a house in a Yibaro, and in Africa, so I have.
Where air for now?
Oh, I thought that's why I'm on a board.
People from Kaswa and other communities come here to buy yam in wholesale quantities. Lucky Boache is one of them. Yam here are usually from Kwasa, Damongo, Bimbila and other parts of northern Ghana. However, beside Ashaiman, Agogo, Adam being in southern Ghana, vegetables like onions and tomatoes are transported from the Upper East region and from Burkina Faso and Niger.
How much is this? 110 million. About 110 million. And also, Babetuya sa besi border. A free hospital free paga. A besi across the police if we go kwemono. Me won't be that.
The expenses from Ghana to Burkina Faso are just too much. We end up not making any profit.
Now what do? And the man about cotton sika kanwa. Oba Faso bi eni so.
All expenses omuji e kwa Burkina Faso. Baby wa ya 5,000 sefa. Baby wa 3,000 sefa. Sa.
We pay unnecessary expenses during our journey to and from Burkina Faso. We are not able to pay back our loans.
Boy. Though
a foodstuff hub, Agbogbloshie market has no storage facility. Most food items often go bad after a long stay.
Wow,
Our items go waste, yet we have to pay for them. So long as Agbogbloshie Market remains at its present location, it will continue to be the food hub where people from far and near will come and shop despite the poor environmental conditions. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Agbogbloshie.
Now, the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Joseph Kofi Adda, has placed the blame of the poor sanitation situation in Accra firmly at the doorstep of Zoomlion Ghana Limited. Joseph Kofi Adda accused the waste management company of failing to supervise the cleaning and collection of waste on a daily basis, a situation he says has led to the piling up of garbage in the capital. At a sanitation stakeholder forum in Accra, the sector minister expressed disappointment at the shutdown of the Accra compost recycling plant and describing the work of waste management company Zoomlion as unsatisfactory.
First of all, it's not a case that we're generating any waste more than we're generating before, but it is the fact that the waste is seen more visibly in public places. And I think it is the situation that comes out of Zoomlion not being able to deploy the workers on the streets regularly to sweep, clean, gather and transport the waste away from where they're supposed to be operating. I also think strongly that this arises out of the fact that he's taking the street sweepers on board as staff members, whereas they should have been left with the assemblies.
However, the executive chairman of the Jospon Group of Companies, Joseph Sian Ejepong, said Accra, compared to other African countries, is clean.
This is the equipment that we have. I said need because you've not moved to other African countries. When you move to Gambia and other things and you land in Accra, you think that Accra is a new landing for you. So sometimes when you are doing the benchmark, it's because you are here. Sometimes do the benchmark with other countries that you have visited. And where I have visited some countries and I say we are doing well. Even though we've not got it there, we are somewhere.
Joseph Sian Ejepong added, Ghana needs to graduate from landfill sites to composting. He revealed that 61% of the waste produced by the country is organic, a situation which can be monetized to boost revenue generation.
The key, composting is the key, the relative of work. We are supplying the compost to real estate, they are buying. Landfill, you can't get nothing from it. You get flies, leachate, and odor. Why do you go back? I think we should do what is best practice, more modern, more dignified, and more healthier for this country.
Speakers at the forum agreed constant collaboration between stakeholders and enforcement of sanitation laws are key in winning the fight against attitudinal change towards improved sanitation. Environmental consultant Kwame Asiedu Isubonting recommended a social revolution where Ghanaians will be conscientized to adopt best sanitary practices. The forum was on the theme Managing Sanitation, how to lift the nation from filth.
That's pretty interesting. But meanwhile, the managing director of the Accra Compost and Recycling Plant, Dr. Richard Amponsa, has dismissed claims by the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Joseph Kofi Adda, that the company is currently not operational. In an exclusive interview with TV3, Dr. Richard Amponsa said the minister has been ill-informed. Aside the mandatory shutdown for maintenance purposes in December, the company has been fully up and running.
I want to use this opportunity to correct that and say that the plant is not shut down. The plant is in operation the whole of this year. The only time that we did shut the plant was in December when we were doing our normal routine maintenance, which was, so it was shut from 24th to 28th of December last year. And that was just a routine maintenance. It is done annually to maintain the facility. But apart from that, from January till now, the plant is working. This month and last month, there have been documentary on Accra Compost and Recycling Plant. Almost daily, every time you open the television, is there documentary on our operations. Why would we be doing documentary when we are not operational?
He added that the key to proper waste management in the country is for authorities to focus on more transfer stations for waste collectors.
We need more. They are far away. If you are here, for example, if you collect waste here, do you have to travel all the waste away to Achimota to go and dispose of the waste? No. We must have strategic transfer stations. These transfer stations are well kept. And at the transfer stations, we put the waste in a longer truck, say a 40-footer truck, and these trucks are sent to, say, Accra Compost and Recycling Plant or to an engineer landfill site. And when we do that, we will not entertain waste.
All right, let's do some other stories. And lateness and absenteeism continues to affect parliamentary work. Now, some MPs want the Speaker to deal decisively with the matter.
Absenteeism and lateness remain setbacks Ghana's parliament is grappling with. The age-long problem has not only dented the image of the legislative arm of government, but also affects businesses of the House. Sittings are expected to commence at 10 a.m., but the lawmakers are hardly in the House by that time. Sometimes proceedings delay over 3 hours. Proceedings in the House on Friday delayed by more than 1.5 hours. School children present to witness proceedings missed the opportunity because the 30 minutes allotted time had elapsed. Both sides are guilty.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's fair to those children who travel across the country to come and see parliamentary proceeding only to sit and leave before we come to work, because we have disappointed them. Mr. Speaker, I'm still urging leadership to do something about what time is Parliament sitting in this country. It is not fair to the people of this country. We can do something. We cannot be the people who are leading this country and can't do things on time. How can we expect other people to abide by laws that we pass and flout in this house openly?
When this house does not sit in plenary, it does not mean that members are not working. There are situations where committee meetings are programmed in the morning, 9 a.m., sometimes as early as 8 a.m. So, Mr. Speaker, the impression must also not be created out there that MPs come to work late.
Other members expressed concern over the situation, calling on the Speaker to be strict in getting members to be punctual. The Speaker urged the members to change. Previous speakers have had to deal with the same issue, but it appears it will not go away.
I would want to direct that there is something called plenary. Plenary supersedes everything. So every member of this honorable house is enjoined to come to the house first before seeking permission from the members' leadership. Oh, excuse me, I have to attend to this or that and so on. And they're going to attend to that.
Meanwhile, the reclaimed land from squatters at CMB Abuja has been earmarked for the construction of residential apartments for workers of the railways company. The MP for Clotekole, Dr. Zanetta Rollins, had asked the sector minister Joe Gatti what plans the ministry had for the land.
All right, so this has really become a broken record in your ears. I mean, if you've been following this on the news, the absenteeism in Parliament, well, there's some reason given to it. But I've been joined on Skype by Dr. Rashid Draman. He is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. He understands the workings of Parliament a bit better. Doc, thank you for your time. Good evening to you. Now, are we just standing on the roof and shouting, too much about this issue, or indeed there is a reason that legitimizes the continuous absence of MPs from the business of the House?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alfred, for having me. I think there is absolutely no reason to explain this. You see, all over the world, I think parliaments face this challenge of quorum. But it looks like in our country, since the 5th parliament, this issue has become quite prominent. If you look at the records, since the time of Right Honorable Bamford Addo to Right Honorable Doa Jao, and then to the current Speaker, Right Honorable Michael Quay. I heard him today saying that, urging MPs and so on. It looks like we've gotten to a point where urging is not going to work. Naming and shaming is not going to work, because it looks like Odikro did some work
absolutely
quite recently, and named and shamed a number of MPs. Many people argue sometimes that it might be because we have a fusion of the executive and the legislature, to the extent that currently I think we have about 67 members of parliament who are also ministers of state. But if you take that 67 out of the 275 members that we have, we still have 188 MPs. And the quorum rule requires that 1/3 of MPs have to be present for the proceedings of the House to begin, which means at the very least, Parliament needs about 92 members. If we can't find 92 members for the business of the House to commence, I think that is very disturbing. And you see, in this country, anytime the issues of Parliament come up, in terms of their conditions of service and so on, citizens are up in arms. I am one of the strong advocates that we need to properly resource our MPs so that they can do their work properly. But this kind of behavior, I think, doesn't endear them to the citizenry, because you can't, there's no reason to explain this, honestly. There's no reason to explain this. And I think it's gotten to a time when the Speaker must, I think, begin to crack the whip. Odikro at one point said they were going to court. I don't know what has happened of that. In some parliaments, you have members suspended, you have salaries suspended, and so on and so forth. I think our parliament, it's about time our parliament started looking at some of these things.
Fantastic. Doc, thank you for your time this evening and for this contribution. I'm grateful. Dr. Rashid Rahman is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs on the absenteeism by MPs in Parliament.
News 360 Skype interview is brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go.
Right, a very good evening too, and thanks for staying with us on News 360. Let's do some business now. My name is Nanekia Mensah Brampa. Beginning from the banking sector. The Bank of Ghana says it has granted license to 319 microfinance institutions across the country to operate. Now, the central bank, in a statement, admitted the challenges in the microfinance sector and assured the public it is taking steps to address them. The statements further indicated that the bank has been monitoring microfinance institutions through off-site surveillance and on-site examination, and has also held a number of meetings with them, shareholders and management of affected institutions. The bank is working on a comprehensive reform program to address the challenges in the sector and strengthen regulatory and supervisory oversight, the statements concluded. Right, so in clear picture, what we are talking about when it comes to the 319 microfinance institutions listed by the Bank of Ghana, originally broken down here as given by the Bank of Ghana. The Ashanti region, we're seeing 41 institutions. Therefore, Central, 15 institutions representing. The Eastern is also recording 11 institutions. Northern, 5 institutions. Now for Upper East, it means that there's no institution that is being recognized by the Bank of Ghana as a licensed microfinance institution. Volta has 7 institutions. Western, 20. Upper West, 1. Bono have 7. And the greatest or the biggest is the Greater Accra with 211 microfinance institutions recognized by the Bank of Ghana as up to date. Well, you can get detail of these on 3news.com. There's a full report on the Bank of Ghana's release on this particular one when it comes to the microfinance institutions. Let's move on. And management of the Ghana Free Zones Authority has defended the 10-year tax holiday enjoyed by companies on free zones. Business analysts have criticized the huge tax exemption, which they argue undermines the country's revenue mobilization effort. But according to CEO of the authority, Michael Ochrebefi, the country rakes in a lot more within the 10-year period, and he spoke on 3FM's Sunrise. A free zone company can be located either in any of the exports processing zones or anywhere in the country upon the approval of the Ghana Free Zones Authority. Companies operating under the Free Zones program are entitled to both monetary and non-monetary incentives. The monetary incentives offered include 100% exemption from the payment of direct and indirect duties and levies on all imports for production and exports from free zones, 100% exemption from the payment of income tax on profits for 10 years, which will not exceed 8% thereafter, and total exemption from the payment of withholding taxes from dividends arising out of the free zone investment. Some analysts have argued the huge tax exemption undermines the country's revenue mobilization efforts, but CEO of the authority, Kofi Befi, disagrees.
You are giving 10 years tax exemption to a company. What's the company also bringing on board? The company is bringing employment opportunity. The companies are also bringing transfer of technology. The companies are also bringing transfer of set skills and competences. So I guess the advantages we get as a nation is enormous. And for me, I think we should still maintain the 10 years.
He wants local companies to take advantage of the tax incentives and exemptions and register.
Because we have seen that a lot of people who are doing well locally, I'm talking about the entrepreneurs and businessmen, they may have financial muscles, they may have the capacity to do big businesses or to even be registered as free zones enterprise, but they don't know the concept, they don't understand it. So we want to create the awareness for people to know about it, that free zones is not for only those coming from Europe or America or Eastern Europe, but Ghanaians can also benefit from free zones.
Only 34 out of 201 companies operating within the free zones are local. The program is designed to promote the processing and manufacturing of goods through the establishment of exports promotion zones and encourage the development of commercial and service activities at sea and airport areas. Right, so let's look at reactions on the much talked about Komenda Sugar Factory. Well, President of Imani Ghana, Franklin Cudjoe, says the Komenda Sugar Factory was a failed project even before the construction started. Now, he explained that then government had no business in revamping and running of the sugar factory, and he indicated current government should learn lessons from this as it rolls out the one district, one factory.
Thing was it never existed. Why are we making it look as if the Komenda Sugar Factory was actually built? It never existed. They were just structures that were never going to be economically viable.
The Komenda Sugar Factory has been closed for 2 years. President of the think tank group Imani, Franklin Cudjoe, questioned what went into the decision to establish the Komenda Sugar Factory, which was expected to create 7,000 direct and indirect jobs.
Back in the 70s, it was thought that the capital needed was $90 million to get it, to resuscitate it, right? Now you started with 36 million. And you needed at least, you need 7,000 hectares if you want to maintain throughput. Then you needed to think about where to offload the 46,000 tons of sugar that would have been produced, assuming everything was done properly. None of these were done. No, nothing was, the sort was done. So that's what I'm saying, that the factory never existed. It was dead on arrival. It never was.
He hoped lessons have been learned for proper implementation of government's One District, One Factory initiative.
I suspect even the government put it on the front page in order to buy some capital. But there's warning to them as well. As they roll out 1DF, 1F, they should learn lessons. It's very important. And by the way, the state has no business in organizing, running factories. It's a principle that is an age-old principle. And learning something, but the lessons have got to be learned properly.
Minister for Employment and Labour Relations questioned the kind of agronomic studies that were done before the factory was set up.
Why we had it wrong was that we should have actually started the cultivation of sugarcane before reactivating the factory. Because we rather started with reactivating the factory before even going into the production of sugarcane. The Mauritius, I was told that the mere sugar production alone can at best help you to break even. But what sustains them is that they have added additional business of using the wastage in the production of energy, which they sell to the national grid. So it is that which they make from that helps them to be able to make surpluses.
And the managing director of First Bank Brokerage Limited, Edem Akpenyong, said the temporal suspension of trading in the ADB stocks and its subsequent lifting will not have any effect on the equity. Commending the exchange for the move, he said the suspension was to ensure the protection of the investing public.
The Ghana Stock Exchange on Wednesday, March 7, suspended trading in the ADB stock over the news of the purported takeover of the listed company by Unibank. The move, according to the exchange, was to enable ADB to provide full information and clarity on the matter, including whether the purported takeover complies with the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bank of Ghana requirements. The exchange, satisfying itself with the response from the board of ADB, has since March 8 lifted the suspension. But how could the one-day suspension of trading have affected the ADB stock? Edem Akpenyong is the MD of First Bank Brokerage Limited.
To the extent that if there were shareholders on the day who wanted to buy or sell their shares on the day that the suspension happened, that means that virtually they were locked in at the time until the suspension was lifted up.
He said the exchange move was right, as it was aimed at protecting the investing public.
Once the news started trickling in that there had been some issues with the shareholding of ADB, the exchange would have to move in to protect shareholders and market participants, which is the reason that led to the suspension. Now, the idea is that we'll suspend trading whilst information is put out there so that everybody is basically on the same page, and then suspension can be lifted so that when people are dealing in their shares or dealing in the securities, they are doing that having had full information of whatever is going on.
ADB successfully listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange on December 12, 2016, making it the 40th equity on the market.
All right, so there's more news on 3news.com. That will do for business tonight. My name is Nanikia Mensah. Handing over now to Alfredo Kansi.
Thank you very much. You look good in those long sleeves and the African wear anyway. But still to some stories tonight. The Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Halima Mahama, has warned regional ministers and chief directors not to use unavailability of funds as an excuse to underperform. At a performance signing contract in Accra, she challenged them to focus on revenue generation, particularly when government intends to decentralize the management of basic schools by regional chief directors and ministers in Accra.
Are expected to spearhead the implementation of government flagship programs. They are also expected to track the disbursement of public funds. The Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Hajia Halima Mahama, warned them to stop the complaints and facilitate revenue mobilization.
We should target revenue mobilization seriously. And I must add that when the president talks about Ghana beyond aid, it's not as if to say we would not receive aid or support, but we should look at our own resources.
She tasked them to fashion out modalities for next year's district assembly elections.
A referendum for election of MMDC. The referendum is simply to find out whether Ghanaians will want the election of MMDC to be partisan or non-partisan.
In the performance agreement contract, chief directors who excel will be promoted and their salaries increased. The head of local government services, Dr. Nano Atuata, reminded them of sanctions for non-performing directors.
You could be reprimanded, assuming on your file that this failing to get to this level or that level, your next promotion, for instance, will be delayed.
Other speakers encouraged the chief directors to work effectively.
We'll be back with some more news updates after this. Stay with us.
And on the international front tonight, Kenya's president and the opposition leader have promised to begin a process of reconciliation following last year's bitterly contested election. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga called each other brothers during a surprise joint TV address.
In as the people's president and refused to recognize Mr. Kenyatta as head of state. The announcement came shortly before the arrival of U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson in Kenya. Until now, both had dismissed calls for talks from both Kenyans and foreign diplomats. About 150 people were killed in the aftermath of the election, which Mr. Kenyatta won after an opposition boycott. In their joint address, President Kenyatta said they will begin a process of discussing what ails them and what creates division between them. Mr. Odinga said it was time to resolve the differences.
We look forward to the support of every single Kenyan so that we can build together a united, harmonious, stable nation where no individual feels left out or left behind. So to me, this marks a new beginning for our country, a beginning in which we hope that we shall march together as Kenyans. We can differ in terms of political alignment, but always remain steadfast and united in matters Kenya.
Beginning the process of building the bridge that binds Kenya together. Here's where we are. Sasa ndugu yangu ataongea.
God bless.
On MTN Video Report tonight, Selinam Jameshi reports from the Jasikan district in the Volta region on a collapsed school structure. Now he's calling on individuals and organizations to help fix the structure for them.
This is Kichi Kwanta DAGHS, one of the schools in the Jasikan district of the Volta region. The structure has collapsed because of the heavy downpour and the windstorm which occurred. We, the parents, are therefore pleading to the government and individuals to come to our aid and put up another structure for us so that the teachers can come back to the classroom and teach.
Or you can also send your video reports via WhatsApp on 055-1433-044. It's now time for entertainment.
All right, so good evening. It's now time for some entertainment and lifestyle news with me, Nana Kwejo Ado. Now moving on to the very first story. Having set the whole month of March to push the Wear Ghana campaign, there's one unique person who even before the campaign showed up at all events in beautiful Made in Ghana outfit. Petra Abba-Samoah wears Made in Ghana each day of the week. She is the General Manager for Commercial here at Media General.
She is a chartered marketer by profession and a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK. She teaches marketing as an adjunct lecturer at Ashesi University College. Petra Abba-Samoah wears Ghana throughout the week.
I work with Media General as a General Manager Commercial. I'm not sure about the is belief part, but yes, that's just who I am. So I am regularly in African print. So I wear Ghana every day. I have very good people who help me make my clothes and who help me design. So I don't have to struggle too much with that. But for me, it's a reflection of my personality and my identity. So I tend to dress for comfort. So I don't want to be encumbered with fabric that is not very comfortable. And I just found that African print suits that perfectly.
The author of Sales 101 outlines the significance of the Wear Ghana campaign.
It's a good thing to have a month to focus on Ghana and our heritage, our identity, our food, our culture, everything. It's a good thing, definitely. And I'm totally in support of Media General's Ghana month. But I feel that what we wear is who we are. And so it shouldn't be out of the blue when we decide to show up in African print or African clothes. It's something that I like to do. I feel that it's a reflection of who I am as an African woman, as an individual, because I really truly believe that we should reflect who we are in every way possible. So if we have our culture, we should wear it on our sleeve all the time. For me, it's important that we show it in everything that we do, and dressing is just one of those many ways of portraying our identity.
So from one person to another, we're moving on to a celebrated communication strategist. Mawena Treba turned newscaster yesterday on International Women's Day here on TV3. Now, how did she feel to be in that shoes reading news yesterday on Midday Live?
It's International Women's Day, and this is a special edition of Midday Live. I am Mawena Treba.
Well, it was an all-new experience, and Mawena loved every second of it.
Is what motivated you to pursue your career even?
But hey, it wasn't all rosy for the business strategist turned news anchor. She did whisper to TV3 Entertainment that she said a little prayer anytime she was being counted down.
Well, the first thing was to pray. And the second thing was to make sure that Harriet, my producer, could hear me and I could hear her. I have an even deeper and more profound respect for the people who work in the media domain. It's not an easy job. It's exciting to welcome the ever lovely Adina to the studio.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much, my dear. It's been wonderful listening to all these exciting stories of women doing groundbreaking things in our country.
Definitely.
What's on in entertainment?
But in all, Mawena Treba had a great time as a news anchor.
I just felt very privileged to have had the opportunity to understand better how intense it is. And I congratulate all media practitioners, but especially women, for continuing to blaze the trail and do exceptional things.
So that's about it for entertainment news, brought to you by Vodafone. Power to you and FunMax, fuel your day. No, so you guys watched International Women's Day, and the experience.
Yesterday we had a holiday.
We
Exactly.
did.
And
Yeah,
women.
I didn't.
Well,
have
yes.
a bit of
You were
a-
on.
I was on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't get the opportunity to wish you happy International Women's Day.
Well, you can wish me every single day.
Okay.
Because I'm a woman, I'll be a woman every single day.
That's fine. But yesterday you had Adina, Miss V, Sylvia,
absolutely.
Noah, Issy Hammond, and all of them, passing through the set. But what would you think about their performance?
Well, I mean, just as Mawena said, I think that sometimes you get into the fray of thinking that it's just about coming to sit down, read the news, and go.
Yeah.
But then when you get into it, you better appreciate that it's like every other job. Every other job has its own demands, its own challenges that you go through. Yesterday, on a scale of 1 to 100, you can't judge them that much because it was their first time.
Okay.
So congratulations.
All right.
Yeah, they did quite well, I'd say.
Yeah. I want to say thank you to you for spending your 60 minutes with us. It's still we celebrate GH as we do here on Media General. It's a Wear Ghana month. We're in traditional wear. Please be encouraged to do that. My name is Alfredo Kanse.
And I'm Solis Rose Gordy. Enjoy your weekend. Good evening.